Hi, this is Scott Montgomery. Welcome back to the Small Town Mercer. I've been hurt my back about a week ago, so I haven't been able to make any videos until now. So today I'm going to resume. I'm going to make two videos today, um, simply because I want to get them out because I have other videos piling up that I've been working on. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to introduce a topic that I think is very important, and it affects cryptocurrency. Now, I've noticed that I did this video before we had the great uptick in Bitcoin and then the great fall of Bitcoin going back down to where it was. But um, I want you to know that that's a symptom of today. It's not really emblematic of where I think cryptocurrency is going to go. And what I mean by that is today we have a highly unstable monetary system, but we have a highly technical world. And so what that happen, what will occur eventually, and you're going to see this, is you're going to have a complete economic change in our society. And today I'm going to illustrate what I mean by that. So, because today we still function in dollars, okay? Now that I introduce this, I need to use the board today, so I'm going to erase that. So, anyway, what's happening is that our worldwide economies are inflating so much now. You have complete control over the economic system by states, I say, or nations, or the central banking system, however you want to term it. Mostly it's the central banking system. And as a result of that, this marriage between central banking and politicos makes it so that the politicians and the bankers, I think, are in bed with one another to see how they can make the financial and economic future work to their benefit. And as it works to their benefit, it works to the detriment of all persons everywhere. And so you're going to see huge disparities in wealth, and you're going to see nations that are trying to, emerging nations even, fall further and further back into poverty, especially in Africa and Asia. I think some of the African nations, I think even India, portions of India, Vietnam, nations of that nature, are going to have difficulty. Mexico going to have difficulty getting out of poverty, and so as they flee to European nations, some of them, or North American nations for others, it's going to put a huge burden, financial burden, on our nations. And I think inflation is going to increase greatly, and it's going to be harder and harder and harder to find sustainable employment that you can count on year after year after year to pay your bills. And so what I notice is that you're starting to see money leave the traditional financial world. And so as a result of that, you remember, here's an example. I'll give you an example. Okay? You remember the old adage that, and you still hear this. I hear this on financial programs all the time. You have to have a balanced portfolio so that you mitigate risk and reward, so that you have steady growth year in and year out. Well, the problem is that the steady growth year in and year out is turning out to be riskier and riskier. For an example, you've noticed that even junk bonds, the highest and riskiest bonds, are not even keeping up with inflation now. So that's causing people to chase a lot of financial avenues. And so today I'm going to do a video on that, and I'm going to go over as briefly as I can where I think this is heading. And so what you're going to have is you're going to basically have people today, and this is what people are doing today. They are chasing assets, and you're saying, well, okay, what does that mean? How different is that? Well, it's different because we used to be chasing financial reward, right? Oh boy, I am really having difficulty writing. Financial reward, right? That's what we used. That's what we used to do. We used to chase this financial reward or profit. You know, if I was profitable, I'm going to be good. All right, I'm going to make money. Well, are you going to make enough? And that's the problem today. Are you going to make enough? So making enough means that you're going to have to chase assets. And so investing is going to look differently in the future. People are going to chase assets, and you're saying to yourself, well, what do you mean by that? Okay, well, better money. All right? That's something that's kind of always been around, but it's never been, I would say, cool or at the forefront of investing. What do we mean by better money? Well, usually that's gold or silver, something really stable. In the recent, I guess, past and future, or more recently, we can add Bitcoin to that, right? So you've got gold, silver, Bitcoin. You know, other cryptos, etc. That's what I mean by chasing better assets. But today I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on where I think the economy is heading and how I think this is going to change. And the real change is going to be what gets invested in. And I have five categories. Five categories. Categories, okay? There are five. And I'm going to put up real estate. I'm going to put up technology. Technology is nothing new. We've been investing in that for years, but now it's going to look differently. Believe it or not, agriculture. That's going to be important, and I'll explain why in a minute. Energy. Now, people are probably going to think green energy, but I'm just going to say energy. And then another one that doesn't get a lot of news, although it is late, more recently, is construction. And construction is going to be important in the future because of why? Because our tastes are changing. So just building houses and buildings is not going to cut it anymore. You're not going to see 10, 20, 30,000 people working in a building in the future. I believe people are going to be, because of technology, I think technology is going to be, let me start with technology. Okay? Let me start with technology. I think because of technology, we're going to be more portable as a person, as people. We're going to be, technology is going to allow us to be more portable. So we're going to be moving around. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see a lot more vacation sites, a lot more fun places to go. You know, beach housing, that type of rental property. I'm starting to see developers in certain states that are more, I would say, freer oriented politically. You know, what I mean by that is less taxation and less restrictions. So you're starting to see a lot of property developers buy up whole housing developments and renting out all that property. So you're seeing more of a portable temporary use, and you're seeing a lot of areas that are more fun oriented. You know, going to maybe housing startups near the beach or near fishing and hunting areas, or near harbors and yacht harbors and things like that, or near amusement parks or whatever. I think you're going to start to see people working and living in and around those areas. You're not going to see housing developments out here spending hours in traffic going to some crowded, you know, city with large buildings. I think that that's probably going to change in the future. Um, I know a lot of politicians today think the new green energy is going to be. Oh, I didn't turn my phone off. Ugh, sorry about that. I'm going to turn that off right now. All right. Gosh. Yeah, let me turn that off. Sorry about that. All right. I should stop and start the video, but I'm just too lazy. Sorry. Okay, so you're going to start to see people move around more. And I don't think you're going to see people sitting in traffic going back and forth to big, large cities. I know the green energy people would like everyone to live in little cities so that all the wilderness belongs to them, basically to no one. And you go out and look at it and walk back. Well, I think we're going to have more private land use and some public land use, but you're not going to have government, not so much government land. Okay, I think that one is going to go bye-bye. All right? All right? Okay, and that's what I mean by that. So technology. So people are investing in technologies. People are investing in those types of technologies. So you do want to be nearby to some, facets of city life. I think a lot of people want to be around a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to be close to hospitals. I think they want to be close to shopping. I think shopping is still going to be done outwardly. They want to be close to, restaurants and bars and that type of thing. But I don't think they're going to want to work in a building all day long. I think they're going to be more dispersed. You're going to see a lot more technological meetings via the computer, possibly. So that's what I think is going to happen. So you're going to see a lot of investment in that kind of portability. Ugh. So that's what I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot of people, let's say, work at the ballpark. They want to see a baseball game or football or whatever. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see people working at their kids' games. You might even see more, believe it or not, you might even see more homeschooling as a result of that. Because why? Well, teachers don't want to go back to school just as of yet. We're still using that as an issue. Fine. Get rid of schools. Do homeschooling. Have homeschooling networks. Then you can teach more remotely. And then the parents can get involved in their kids' education. They're at home. One can take some time out to help a student. Another one can take some time out to help a student. Have them grow up. Have them do responsible things around the house. Hey, kids, you do the laundry. Hey, kids, you do the cooking. Hey, kids, you do the cleaning. Do the yard work. Go outside. I'll bring this up later. Go outside and tend to the food. That type of thing. I think that's much better way of life. It demonstrates much more responsibility, much more individual responsibility. Therefore, we as a people will seek more individual freedoms. We don't need big government and big taxes. We can get rid of most taxes. We can get rid of most government functions because we're going to be doing them. Okay? So that's how I see technology going. So chasing those assets, investing in those companies should be richly rewarded. What about real estate? And that goes on to it. you're going to see all new real estate projects, and as a result, new construction, right? New real estate, new construction. You're not going to see little housing developments over here and there taking up farmland and a bunch of houses, and then a big freeway that goes by there and takes people who, or a big train that takes them to the city, and they all go pile into a building, and then they all take hours and hours going back and forth, then back and forth, then back and forth. Meanwhile, all the poor people are living in these wretched old neighborhoods. I don't think you're going to see that anymore. I think you're going to see ownership, whether it's crowd-funded ownership, right? Ownership, or private ownership. But you're going to see a lot of ownership now. People are going to be investing in properties. I see people who want to live in a city buying up a whole street row full of condos in the city, and they all own it. You know, maybe they form a little corporation and they pay into it and they get a dividend check back. That's possible with cryptocurrency. You pay on a certain day, you get paid on it just as soon as you pay, because you're a stockholder in this, or that would be a crowdfunded, or there are many different other types of crowdfunding. But I think you're going to see different aspects of construction. You're going to have to redesign these cities. You're going to have to redesign these towns. I think some of the cities, maybe you just bulldoze them and make more farmland. And then people can live interspersed, whether they're renting or owning or whatever. I think that's what you're going to see. And that gives people more responsibility. It gives them more pride of ownership. I think that's the better way to go there. Okay, and I think also that's going to translate into our food production. Food, agriculture. That's the last thing I want to touch on, as well as energy. Agriculture. I think we should be a nation of small farmers. I don't think we should live in McMansions. I think we should raise our own food, raise our own vegetables. I mean, what do we have now, right? I shouldn't have closed this, sorry. You have corporate farming mostly, or large farming. So you have huge swaths, and I don't think, farming, well, large farms. Large farming is what I meant to say. But you've got large corporate farms, you've got huge swaths of land raising all kinds of grains, modified so that they have to produce, genetically altered food, that type of thing. Why don't we all buy plots of land, or not all of us, but many of us, plots of land, grow our own food, raise our own chickens, maybe even raise our own meat, Why not? Why don't we get back to maybe 40 or 50% of this country actually owning their own land and raising their own crops? We're doing that. We have our own eggs and our own crops. We don't produce meat, but we do that. We're not trying to sell it, but if we have extra, maybe we'll go down to the farmer's market and sell a little bit of it, but that's not the goal. The goal is we are going to eat that food. Why can't people do that? Why do we have to everybody pile into a supermarket, buy modified food, pay exorbitant prices for it, pay a lot of energy for it, coming home with packages and boxes of stuff and putting it in the garbage, putting it in the recycle every week, piled up to the sky? What for? I remember when I was a kid, you come home with 2 little bags of groceries that fed us for 4, 5, 6, 7 days sometimes. Now you go to the Costco, you need to rent a U-Haul truck to take your groceries home. And how long does that last? The same 5, 6, 7 days, except it's more crap, and then the fatter we get, right? I think this is a much better way to go. And with this new technology, the new economy, inflation not being as much of a problem anymore, you can do these things and you could save even more money. So, money being fungible, in other words, cryptocurrency, let's say it's used all over the world. You don't have poor people clamoring to the border just to make a buck because their countries are impoverished. If they adopt these principles, they will have money. They won't have as much money, let's say, in Mexico as we do here in the United States, but they will have money and they can work towards that. And eventually, after a period of time, yes, they will be just as prosperous as we will. Why wouldn't they? If they use the same principles we do, they may not be as technologically advanced, but eventually they will. Why wouldn't they if they're doing things the right way? We didn't become technologically savvy overnight as Americans. It took time. But each and every year we prospered as a nation. We didn't have corruption, corrupt politicians stealing all our money like we do today. Luckily, we still have a lot of money in this country and they can't get all of it. Hopefully, through crypto, they won't get any of it anymore. They'll work for us. We will have smaller government. We will have local governments. People will form their own little governments. We're going to get rid of gerrymandering because we're going to have the purse strings. We're going to be able to reorganize government, as they will in every country, because the people will have cryptocurrency. They will have the money, not the government. And they can hire their own politicians and form their own governments. You don't need to use criminal entities just to make a buck. That would be a much better world. Now, that's going to take a lot of time before that happens. But this is going to give it a good start. Finally, energy. Wouldn't it be great if you can use your own land to put energy on, right? Either, you can have your own oil leases, let's say, or your own wind farm, right? Sorry about that. Yeah, you could have your own property rights. Oh, God. Right, you can own the minerals, the mineral property rights. Sorry, mineral rights. And you could do oil, wind. You can have your own water wells. Or even if you want to have solar, go ahead, That type of thing. You just do what you want. That way you can, if you want to use energy from the energy company, you make money from your oil leases if you have oil or other minerals. If you don't, you can put up wind and solar. Okay? So therefore you're using all of it. That's a much better society, is it not? Cryptocurrency can make that a reality. It really can. And so, did I miss anything here? Let's see, I have my notes here. No, I think I got everything. Anyway, I think that's it. I think, the one thing I would say is that if we produce more stuff, let's say even if we grow our own cotton and things of that nature, we can bring textiles manufacturing back into the local countries. That way we can make our own here. Other countries can make their own there. Countries that can't really do that, we can still import and export, but they can grow things that maybe we can't. Let's say you live in Tahiti or Hawaii or someplace, you can grow pineapples. We can't grow those here in Maryland, where I live, but we can certainly trade them cotton for pineapple, and make both economies strong. So that's what I think we need to do. So I'm going to make another video later today and release it today or tomorrow. And it's going to go more into the philosophy of this. And it's going to be materialism versus wealth. And I want to show the difference between the two and how the pursuit of wealth, just as the pursuit of assets, is what people are going to start doing in the future. So I thank you for watching. This has been Scott Montgomery of the Small Town Mercer. Have a blessed day.